A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. And again, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a marriage feast for his son, and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the marriage feast. But they would not come. Again, he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those who were invited, behold, I have made ready my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves are killed, and everything is ready. Come to the marriage feast.' But they made light of it and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. The king was angry and sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the streets and invite to the marriage feast as many as you can find.' And those servants went out into the streets and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, 'Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment?' And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind him hand and foot, and cast him into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Many are called, but few are chosen. Brothers and sisters, this Sunday we continue this theme of Jesus preaching to his followers on the kingdom of heaven. Over the last number of weeks, the Lord has spoke of what the kingdom of heaven will be like. He has spoken about what is required to get into the kingdom of heaven. And now he speaks of that final moment of judgment on whether we will make it to the kingdom of heaven or not. Two very beautiful things stand out in this gospel passage. First of all, the father who was hosting this feast, this marriage feast for his son, invited so many people. He wanted the feast to be great, but they didn't care. They were not aware of the great blessings that were awaiting them. This reminds us of last weekend's gospel passage of God's hidden presence in our life and our need to respect and revere God's humble presence in our life and be open to the mysteries he has planned for us. So the first group of invited guests did not care. Then the father was angry, sent out his troops, and destroyed the city. After that, he sent his servants out again to invite everyone, the good and the bad alike. What can we take away from that line? All are called to heaven. All of us are called to be saints. We are not created to be mediocre. God does not invite us to be okay or just good enough. God created us and calls us to be saints, to be perfect as the Heavenly Father is perfect. That's possible by God's grace. The good and the bad alike are invited to the wedding feast. This is clearly a prefiguration of the wedding feast of the Lamb of heaven, which is why Jesus is saying this is what the kingdom of heaven can be compared to. All are invited, which then leads us to the final section. Just because we are invited does not guarantee our entrance. We still have to do our part. We hear of this one guest who was not dressed in his wedding garment. He was speechless. When the father addressed him and said, "Why did you come without wearing a wedding garment?" that individual could not say anything. He was speechless. Brothers and sisters, all of us, good and bad alike, are invited, called to heaven. But whenever we come to that judgment seat, we must be in a state of grace. So many people believe that just being invited is enough. Brothers and sisters, that couldn't be farther from the truth. The Lord invites us, but we must be prepared for that banquet feast. We must be prepared for that wedding of heaven. So, brothers and sisters, this Sunday we hear this beautiful parable from Jesus speaking of the kingdom of heaven compared to a feast that this father gives to his son on this great occasion of his marriage. The first invitees were ungrateful and didn't care. The second group of invitees were everyone, the good and the bad alike. And then we hear of the final guest that reminds us that the invite is not enough, but we must come well prepared, in that wedding garment, in the state of grace, in the state that we were at the time of our baptism. Brothers and sisters, many are called, but few are chosen. All are invited, but not all will be allowed to enter. Brothers and sisters, we have to take this call seriously. Be grateful for the invite. Be open to God's hidden presence in our life, and be prepared for that wedding feast. For many are called, but few are chosen.